So, welcome everybody to today's Autochartist webinar. My name is Ilan Asbel. I'm currently the CEO at Autochartist. Maybe I should stop saying that. Maybe I should say I'm Chief Evangelist at Autochartist. Anyway, titles aside, welcome to today's webinar. Today we're not focusing on any specific topic. We are just talking about Autochartist in general. I like to get to the point pretty quickly. I hope I don't go too quickly for some of you. If you do have questions, you can just ask them in the question section of your webinar screen. Errol will try and handle as many as I can, and at the end of the presentation, I hope that I'll be able to answer some of the questions in the presentation. So let's get going. Once you log into the Autochartist screen, this is what you see. Actually, you see a section called Our Favorites, or you see a section called Trading Opportunities. It all really depends on who you get Autochartist from. If you're getting it from one of our broker partners, there's a likelihood that you're just seeing the trading opportunities at this stage. Only one or two of our broker partners have the Our Favorites section enabled on their Autochartist. So I will, however, cover pretty much all the sections of Autochartist in today's presentation. So if we're looking at the trading opportunity section, really this section is I guess the core of what Autochartist does, right? Which is to actually provide you with trading opportunities relevant to you right now. Remember one thing, that Autochartist is not a system, a signal system. It doesn't tell you where to buy or sell. It's an analyst. It's someone who's guiding you in terms of where the technical analysis trends seem to be pointing. And really what Autochartist does, it summarizes, it really does its analysis based on the theory of support and resistance. So, for example, this is we see on our screen right now, this is a resistance level that Autochartist identified on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. And what Autochartist identified over here is what we call an approaching key level. A key level means a horizontal level. So it means it's approaching because you can see the price hasn't broken through support or resistance or the resistance level yet. It's still moving towards the resistance level. And everything that Autochartist does is based on support and resistance in some form or another. So for example, this is a resistance level. Similarly, we have opportunities based on support levels. You can see the blue support line over here for Swiss franc, Japanese yen, where we think the price is moving towards that level. Of course, there's opportunities where Autochartist tells you that the price has actually broken through a support or resistance level, rather than just telling you it's approaching it. And we'll go through each of these topics individually now in this presentation. We also provide analysis like support and resistance in the form of technical chart patterns. This, for example, is a channel down that was identified on the cable against the Swiss franc. And so you can see Autochartist has told you that there has been a breakout through a resistance level and a potential change in the trend. You can see the trend before the breakout was actually a bearish trend, and now there's been a breakout, so potentially there is a bullish trend that's going to be coming up now. Let me actually bring up one or two Fibonacci patterns as well while we're actually at it, so I can show you some of the other things that Autochartist does in terms of Fibonacci. So there is a Fibonacci pattern that Autochartist identified, which is an ABC 3-point extension, and now obviously the theory of Fibonacci, although I'm no specialist, tells us that the price is going to go down to or rebound off one of these red levels that's displayed on the screen right now. So this, in principle, this screen here, this trading opportunity screen, is really the focal point of the Autochartist product, where it tells you, what the opportunities in the market are right now. And you can see when you log into Autochartist for the first time, you'll see a variety of default settings that you get, default searches. and you can actually create your new search. So, for example, if you're looking for opportunities only on Euro USD, you would click on the new search button, and you can simply, add in instruments, to your list that you're actually looking for. So, for example, if you're looking for Euro USD, or you're looking for GBP USD opportunities, and so you can actually, define your own search criteria for the currency pairs that you actually trade. However, we found that most of our users don't really change the default settings because they want to be exposed to different opportunities. So if you're a USD trader, like most people are, you may think about expanding your scope of investment to the cable, or to the Swiss franc, or maybe even some exotic pairs. Although watch out for the spreads. So we find that a lot of people like to keep the defaults as they are. Although if you are set on your instruments, you can pretty much define your own search criteria as you wish. Autochartist for the more advanced users, and of course this topic of this presentation is Autochartist for Dummies, so I'm not going to go into the advanced section, but just to show you that it's there, once you click on a new search, or an editing an existing search, you can click on the advanced search settings, and you get 3 different sets of advanced filters for chart patterns, Fibonacci patterns, and the key levels, which is horizontal support and resistance. And each of those sections give you some very defined and specific criteria that you can use to search for the chart patterns that you like. For example, in the chart patterns section of the advanced sections, you actually get images of all the different chart patterns that we identify. And you can, for example, select only the trending patterns, right? So it unselects or selects the relevant ones, the non-trending patterns, the horizontal patterns. So this is something that you can do. I personally love horizontal patterns because I think in terms of horizontal support and resistance. And when you click horizontal patterns, you will see that it only selects for you patterns which have got a horizontal support or resistance level, for example, and an ascending and a descending triangle, right? They're based on horizontal levels, the rectangles, the head and shoulders, the inverse head and shoulders, the triple tops and bottoms, and the double tops and bottoms. If you like playing trending patterns, then you can just click on trending patterns. I'm personally not a trending patterns kind of a guy, but some people are. So really, you can get into that. We can get into that at a later stage. But for the purposes of this presentation, just let you know that these screens are available to you. Now, while I have this opportunity, you can see that on the Autochartist screen, I currently have selected Forex All Intraday, which means it's going to show me all patterns for the Forex market. Now, while I was showing you the screen for the search, you will notice that on the left-hand side, some little orange icons that come up. Those little orange icons basically alert you to tell you that new opportunities have just been identified. Okay, so Autochartist will keep a certain history of opportunities on its screen for you, but when new opportunities get identified, it'll actually visually and audibly alert you. Of course, if you have your alert sounds on, it'll actually alert you to those new opportunities that have come up in the market, so you know which are the freshest ones. Now, there's let's just quickly run through some of the details of the opportunities that we're seeing here. So the one I've clicked on is obviously on the Forex market. That's the exchange column. The symbol or instrument, that's Australian dollar versus the Hong Kong dollar. The little arrow tells us whether Autochartist thinks this is a bullish or a bearish opportunity. Okay, and I will, in just a moment, I will talk about what the difference is between the gray arrows and the red and green arrows. So give me a moment, bear with me, and I'll get to that. The interval describes the candle size, right? So these are 15-minute candles in this opportunity we're looking at right now. This is a resistance pattern. It was identified at a certain time here that I've got here. So this time here is actually in Eastern Standard Time. That's what my Autochartist is set to. If you want to change your time zone, you're more than welcome to click on the top right of the application. There is a drop down that will allow you to set your own time zone. So once you do that, Autochartist will basically reload in the time zone that you select. What I normally recommend is that you select the same time zone as your broker. So, for example, if your broker provides you quotes in Eastern Standard Time, in New York time, then I would select New York, American New York. If your broker supplies you data in your MetaTrader or other platform in let's say Central European time, then you could choose the appropriate city from this list. However, I must point out there's one exception to this rule, and that's that if you're getting your Autochartist free of charge from your broker, then chances are it's already in the correct time zone as your trading platform. So just keep an eye on that. It's different for different brokers. The next column that I want to talk about is quality. This is the visual quality of this pattern, and I'll get to that in just a moment. This is an approaching key level, right? Which means it hasn't broken through yet. It is just approaching, and you can see that certain opportunities have the word completed or breakout. That means there's already been a breakout through the support or resistance level. So, for example, let me click on this opportunity here on US dollar versus the Swiss franc. You can see that this is already broken through support resistance. That means this is a breakout opportunity. The next column is called length, and length is really how many candles have formed this pattern. So why that's important is, according to chart pattern theory, the greater the length of the pattern, the stronger it's supposed to be. The reason for that is because chart patterns are actually based in market psychology, right? So if you think about it, the longer you allow the market psychology to play out, the stronger that indication of the psychology. So that's really the theory of chart patterns. And lastly, and one of the most important indicators on the Autochartist trading opportunity screen is this age column, and I'll tell you why that's important. Age basically refers to how old this pattern is in the number of candles. So for example, we look at this opportunity, Australian dollar, US dollar, it's got 0 candles in age, which means that it is brand new. These are the latest patterns. Now, if we scroll down this list over here, and we see there's opportunities which are 2 candles old, 3 candles, 4, 5, 6, all the way down to 9 or 10 candles, right? We see that the patterns lower down in the list are actually older. And let's click on one of those to actually see an example. So we clicked on this example here, Euro Huff, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the image to zoom in a little bit. And what you will see is a bigger picture. Once I zoom in and click on the image, you'll see that Autochartist provides what its forecast was from when this pattern was identified. And after this pattern, you can actually see that Autochartist has drawn some transparent candles, right? Those transparent candles are basically an indication of what happened subsequent to our identification of this opportunity, right? So, as we can see in this example, going back to the screen here, we expected this to be age of 3, right? Which means it's 3 candles old. And you can see, and I'm going to zoom in once again, you can see that we have drawn 3 transparent candles on the screen, which shows that it's 3 candles old, right? So this was identified 3 candles ago. In fact, this was identified 3 15-minute candles ago, which means it was identified 45 minutes ago. Now, don't think that this is not tradable anymore because it's slightly older, right? In fact, I would recommend that you wait for some type of confirmation of a certain trend or a certain movement. So although Autochartist identified this at around 300.77, there's still plenty of room, to make money or lose money if you go in the wrong direction, obviously, in this opportunity. So don't be too scared of the age column, but it's important to keep a note of. Now, when you get down to the very old patterns, like for example this GBP odd pattern, which is 9 candles old, right? Then you need to start being more wary of it, right? So Autochartist identified the pattern, and yes, it spent a few candles moving in the same direction that Autochartist predicted, but then there was a slight turnaround. So not to say that this isn't tradable, because you could say, you know, buy the dips. I still feel it's going long. I still feel like it's going north, and I still think an opportunity. Maybe this is even a better time to buy. So it doesn't invalidate the opportunity, but certainly one needs to be quite cognizant of the age of the opportunity. Okay, let me not harp on that for too much longer. Let me move on to talking, as I said before, about the difference between the gray little triangles and the colored triangles. Okay, so the gray triangle basically means that the opportunity is still in the process of being of forming. Okay, so for example, let's just zoom into this opportunity: Swiss franc, Japanese yen. You can see that this price is still moving towards a resistance level at about 105.55. Okay, so this is not a breakout opportunity. This is more of a swing trading opportunity. Now, only trade these type of opportunities if you're watching the market consistently all the time and your trading screen is open on your screen all the time, because these tend to be very, very short-term opportunities. Okay, so you know, don't think that you can open up these what we call emerging opportunities for a long period of time and come back tomorrow to your trading screen to see what's going on. In fact, our stats show that only about 30%, 30 to 35% of opportunities, of our emerging opportunities, actually cross through the support or resistance level. So these are very short-term opportunities to be monitored and watched very carefully, and certainly not for the risk-averse amongst us. Now, let's look at the difference here with an opportunity that's got a solid green candle, a solid green arrow. This means that there has been a breakout through a support or resistance level. So this is an example of pound Swiss franc. And there has been, as you can see, there's been a breakout through a resistance level, and Autochartist provides you a forecast up to 144.99. Now, if you're a counter trend trader, this is something that you might consider doing, might consider a trade you might consider placing. If you are a trend trader, then you might want to wait 1 or 2 more candles to confirm the change in the trend. Right? You might not want to just trade something like this purely on a breakout, because it could just be noise. You know, there's a lot of noise in the markets, and not only, I mean, I'm using FX as an example market now, but this is true for all markets, whether you're trading New York, London, Frankfurt, or the Forex market, or even the commodities exchanges. This is true for all markets. There's a lot of noise. You really need to watch for the confirmation of the breakout. Now, just to have a brief chat about the quality indicators, and you can see that there's a quality column which I just kind of skipped over. This quality column is not an indication of whether this pattern will hit its forecast level or not. This is simply an indication of the visual quality of the pattern. Now, let's discuss that briefly. So there's a number of quality indicators. Actually, let me zoom out of that so I can actually walk you through them. So the initial trend, okay, actually speaks of the trend prior to formation of the breakout. So I'm going to take my drawing pen, and this is what the initial trend is pointing towards. Okay, so the initial trend is pointing towards what is the initial trend of before the formation of the pattern, and you can see this is a very strong initial trend, so it's got a lot of little tick marks over there. The volume, the volume actually should be ignored in Forex. I'm not quite sure why we're showing it here, because Forex is obviously an OTC market. I need to ask the technical guys why that was shown there. Volume would, if you're looking at, for example, exchange traded opportunities, volume would indicate whether there was an increase in the traded volume at the point of breakout, which is very important as a confirmation of a breakout. But although in the Forex market, volume is not applicable. Uniformity, oops, excuse me, I should be switching my Skype off. I apologize for that to everyone. Not sure why people are calling me. Okay, we should be back again. Sorry about that, everybody. I forgot to switch my Skype off. The uniformity is basically telling us how uniform are the touching points between support and resistance. So you can see there was a touching point here, a touching point here, here, and here. So now, really, what Autochartist is telling you is what is the uniformity between those touching points, right? And you can see that in this situation, this pattern, the touching points are relatively evenly spaced, and that's really what this uniformity setting is telling you. Clarity is telling you how much noise there is between the movements, between the actual touching points. So you can see that this section over here is quite clear, not a lot of noise. However, this section is very, very noisy in terms of its movement between support and resistance. Finally, there is breakout. Breakout is just how big a candle has made it, has broken through the support or resistance level. And you can see that this candle in this situation is relatively big in relation to the size of the candles in the rest of the pattern. And so we think that this breakout is quite significant. So many people ask me, what are the most important criteria to look at? And I would say the most important criteria to look at in my experience are the initial trend and the breakout. In fact, I would say breakout is probably the key component. And breakout it really depends on which markets you're trading. As I said before, if you're trading on the FX market, you can only look at the size of the candle that's broken through the price level you're looking at. However, if you're looking at an exchange traded market like New York or London or Frankfurt or whatever you're trading, then of course you need to look at the volume as well. And I like to look at the volume not just on the one candle that actually broke through, but the volume of a short period before the breakout actually occurred to see if there was an increase or a decrease in the trade. Right. So let's move on to the next topic. And I hope I'm not going too fast. This is just an overview, right? So I see I've been going for about 25 minutes. So let me move on to the next topic. So Autochartist helps you get into the market with a trading opportunity section. The question is always I guess the most popular question that we get asked at Autochartist is what to trade in what direction, right? And of course we can't tell you, but we hope our trading opportunities section will guide you in the right direction. The next most popular question is, once I've opened the position, where should I be setting my stop loss or take profit? And Autochartist tries to provide that information for you through a tool called volatility analysis. So if we're looking at this opportunity right now, GBP, Swiss franc, and we buy or we sell or we do whatever we want. You might even take a position which is not based on Autochartist, but you simply decide to take a position on GBP Swiss franc for whatever reason you want. Now your question is where to set stop loss or stop losses or take profits. Now people have this preconceived notion that they come up with one stop loss strategy, and that's what they should be trading, right? They decide, I set a 50 pip stop loss strategy or a 20 pip stop loss strategy. But what I'm going to tell you now, you need to take very careful note of, and the fact that different instruments trade with a different amount of volatility for different times of day. Okay, so what that means is that one stop loss strategy of 20 pips may work at one time of day, but if you use that same strategy on a different time of day, it might not work. Let me show you an example. So if we take this position on GBP Swiss franc, we can see that, okay, I'm set in New York time, okay? So we can see that around 3 p.m. or later in New York time, in fact, let's from about 12 p.m., noon, New York time and later, the volatility of GBP Swiss franc really decreases, right? So if I'm trading these non-volatile hours for GBP Swiss franc, then a tighter stop loss might work well for me, okay? Because I know that I'm not going to get knocked out with a lot of noise. However, try trade a 20 pip stop loss during peak times, right, between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m. in New York, which is kind of the London session. Chances are you can't use a 10 or 20 pip stop loss. You need to go up to a 40, 50 pip stop loss, because if you use a very small stop loss, you're going to get knocked out of the market, and just with a bit of noise, right? And what you want to do is you don't want to get knocked out of the market because of noise. You want to get knocked out of the market because you've made the wrong trade, okay? There's a big difference to that, because sometimes you could say, yes, I think GBP Swiss franc is GBP strengthening against the Swiss franc, right? So I'm going to take a long position, and you actually set the long position and you set your stop loss too close, and then there's one slight movement in the wrong direction and you get knocked out, and then the subsequent movement is exactly in the correct direction that you predicted. What you don't want to do is get knocked out for that reason. You want to get knocked out, admitting defeat, saying, yes, I called it wrong, but I set my stop losses and take profits appropriately according to current market conditions. So this this movement per hour of day gives you an idea of how different instruments trade at different times of day for every hour of the day. For a more precise indication of what's going on right now in the market, you click on this price range forecast, which gives you a 15-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, and 24-hour outlook of the price range for GBP Swiss franc. So if you are now, it's early morning for you, you're placing your trades for the day, and you now have to go take the kids to school, and you're only going to be back, in 4 hours because you're meeting your friends for tea afterwards, tea and cake, right? Then chances are you shouldn't be setting your stop loss, anything kind of at the 14446 or 1439 level, because that'll knock you out within 1 hour. You should be looking at the 1445 level or 1437 level for your stop losses or take profits, which will give you a 4 hour, kind of time period within which you think you're going to be knocked out, either knocked out of the market or make a profit in the market. So it's very important. Many of us are not full-time traders. We work for a living. Despite the fact that I work in the industry, I also don't have my trading screen open the whole day. I open my trading screen in the mornings, I place a few trades, and I set my stop loss and take profits appropriately, and then I walk away for a few hours, right? I've got meetings to have, I've got things to do, and a lot of us are in that situation, right? So we need to, we'd like to think that the markets, fit into our schedule, because that's the way, we expect things to work in this modern era. The markets, however, don't fit into your schedule, and you have to fit into the market. So you need to look at this, make sure it fits into your lifestyle, into your trading style, and obviously into your risk profile. So enough said about the volatility analysis. I'm going to give you a quick overview of the performance statistics. So again, we've got webinars which are dedicated to performance stats, but this webinar is just an overview. So I'm skimming on the surface for all aspects of the Autochartist platform. Now, before I go into the section, of course, I need to disclaim that nothing, Autochartist is not remunerated through trading volume at all. We're a technology provider. We sell licenses. So we are not promoting you to trade. We're not promoting you to take positions on the market. This is not a solicitation to trade. Also, these performance stats are obviously based on historical performance and not on, and obviously future performance, might be different from the historical performance. So please keep that in mind when we're talking about performance statistics. So The way we measure performance stats at Autochartist is basically to figure out how many of our forecasts hit their forecast region. Okay, that's independent of any stop loss strategies or anything. It's just basically saying out of say 100 chart patterns that we said we're going to go bullish, how many of them hit their forecast level within a certain amount of time. So if we look at, for example, the chart patterns, because I brought that up first, chart patterns on the Forex market. Here we see that over the last 6 months or so, we identified 20,000 patterns, of which about 13,000 hit their forecast level, which is about a 66% hit rate. Now, the reason that 66% hit rate is small is because I want to tell you that it's not important. And it's not important for the following reasons. What you need to do is you need to remember that different market conditions happen in the industry, obviously, and so you need to trade with the current market conditions. And so what I would urge you to do, rather than looking at the overall statistic, is to actually look at specific stats. So for example, what has been working and what hasn't been working from a pattern perspective over the last 6 months. You can see that ascending triangles have been working really well. Double bottoms have been working really well. Head and shoulders and inverse head and shoulders always seem to work well. Rectangles seem to be working well. Pennants have been absolutely appalling, right? There have been other non-performers like symmetrical triangles have been non-performers. So it's important to see what has and hasn't been working. Similarly, Autochartist provides you the breakdown by instrument themselves. Okay, so for example, these are all the instruments over here, right? Now, let's look at that example we looked at for GBP Swiss franc. GBP Swiss franc has only been correct overall 63% of the time, right? That was a channel down. A channel down, though, however, has been performing 74% of the time. And that opportunity we looked at before was on a 240-minute interval, which have been performing, pretty well. Okay, so given that, a 74, 70% and a 63% chance, you can kind of work out roughly what the past performance probability was of that opportunity. Right now, what I normally recommend is for people to simply right-click this screen and print it out. Keep it next to you so that you can reference opportunities as they come up. One set of stats that I want to highlight to you with regards to chart patterns that has a big influence of whether on the success of chart patterns is the hour of day in which the opportunity was identified. And my Autochartist is set to New York time, and you can see that the vast majority of profitable opportunities happen during the London session, right? Between 00 hours through to 10 a.m. New York, which is pretty much the entire London session, maybe a bit even later. So I always say that everyone thinks New York is the capital of the financial markets, and that may be, but London is by far the capital of the Forex market. And you will see that the majority of the volatility, when we look at the volatility analysis screen, the majority of the volatility happens during the London session. And certainly from a chart patterns perspective, the majority of the opportunities are profitable during the London or European sessions. Now, similar stats are available for our key levels, for our breakout key levels and approaching key levels. I won't go into both. I'll just pick whichever one comes up. The stats here are different. The overall stat is 76%, and again, don't really look at the overall stats. Look at the breakdown of the stats. So for approaching key levels, the stats are pretty good, and there's some real star performers. Some of the star performers are exotic cross pairs. So you may not want to trade them. For example, Euro SEK. It's not a mainstream instrument. It's got an 85% hit rate, but the spreads are really big. So there's a big question about whether you actually want to trade opportunities coming up on Euro SEK or not. Similarly, there's a breakdown by the intervals, by the the hour of day on which they were identified, and so obviously I'll leave it to you to actually walk through these statistics and make your own decisions about them. Now, there is a section in Autochartist called Our Favorites. Now, as I said before, some of the brokers have this, some of the brokers don't have this. If your broker doesn't have it, ask them for it. Then that might give them a push to enable it, for us to enable it. This is basically the merge of trading opportunities together with performance statistics. So what this means is that you're not giving many options in terms of what to search for, or quality, or trending or non-trending patterns or anything like that. What you're given here is really one toggle, and that's set a minimum probability. So for example, if I set my minimum probability to be 75%, what Autochartist is going to do, it's going to basically extract from its database of opportunities the opportunities that are of 75% or more probability right now in the market. Okay, so let's take an example. This is an opportunity here on GBP Swiss franc daily candles, where there have been 7,500 patterns out of 10,000 patterns that have been correct. The symbol has been also 79%. The time of day on which it was identified was very high. And I see there's a bug. Forecast is on 00, but you can see the forecast here is 1403. And the probability is 76%, which is over the 75% threshold. Again, past performance may not be indicative of future performance. Okay, so keep that in mind. But this certainly at least gives you a stepping stone as to what has been working in the markets over the last 6 months. Again, if you don't have this feature enabled in your Autochartist platform, ask your broker to expedite the process of getting it approved and enabled in your platform. The next section of Autochartist I want to show you is something called messaging and alerts. I'm going to click on that section right now. And what messaging and alerts is really an Autochartist way of sending you a morning or afternoon or evening technical report into your inbox, right? So into your email, right? So I, for example, trade the Forex market. So if I actually trade Forex in New York, actually. So I click on Forex, Autochartist Forex report. I want to get my report for the European session. I could also, although I live in the US, I trade the European session. I wake up really early. So I could click both of these sessions. I want to report before the open of New York and before the open of London. Or as well as the open of Tokyo, but what you don't want to do is you want to flood yourself with tons of emails all the time. So, I use the report that's most applicable to me, which is the European session. So Autochartist will send me this report before the open of London. I actually speak English. I also speak Russian, but I read my reports in English. So I select the English language. You can select many or one or many of these. And I click on, I put my email address in, and I click save. And what will happen is that Autochartist now, before the open of London, will send me the Forex report in English before the open of London. And this is what that Forex report looks like. There's a little preview button. And we'll just give that a moment to come up. Okay, I hope everyone can see that on the screen. So this is what a Autochartist report will look like. There's some images, some little thumbnails, and as you scroll down towards the bottom of the screen, you'll actually get images and some text, some potential stop levels, take profit levels. What you would normally think that you would receive from a human technical analyst. Although obviously this is Autochartist all automated. Of course, if you subscribe in a different language, you would get it in a different language. I mean, I can try and switch that, to Russian, for example, and here will be my, my Russian report for those of you who speak Russian, which I'm not sure how many of you do, but anyway, I'm babbling. So that's just to give you an idea of those emails that get sent out. And once you start getting those emails, I found that a lot of people very rarely click through to the Autochartist platform. They primarily stick to the emails and see what the market update is, because a lot of our traders, as I said before, are not full-time traders. They don't have a screen open in front of them all the time. They kind of want to read something on the way into the office, play some morning trades, and they leave their trading screens for the rest of the day. So really, it all depends on your style of trade and your involvement in the markets. The next section I want to show you is a section called Event Impact Analysis. Event Impact Analysis is a new feature which we've added into Autochartist. Right now, it's only available through a direct subscription to us. It's not available at any brokers yet, although we are in talks with some brokers to provide them the service. Event Impact Analysis is actually a joint collaboration between Autochartist and Econoday. Econoday is one of the world's premier providers of economic news data. So, for example, so that things like non-farm payroll releases or CPI releases in different countries, right? Those are financial economic events. So what we've done with Econoday together is we've actually tried to provide people with a historical view on what the effect was of these different economic events on different instruments. So, for example, here I'm looking at, I want to select United States dollars, events in the United States. I'm looking at CPI, and I want to see the effect on Euro USD. Okay, so now what I have on my screen in front of me is basically the effect that the consumer price index event in the United States had on Euro USD after 4 hours. Okay, so now what we do is we can scroll down. I'll get to the little details at the top, but we can scroll down and see that Autochartist has summarized the event, when the event happened, and actually shown you the trend after subsequent to the event. All right, so we can see that the trend was down over the next 4 hours after the event happened, right? And you can see that all the different events happening, and you can see the massive increase in volatility happening. And so now, instead of having to go back, let's say your CPI or non-farm payroll. Let's look at non-farm payroll for a second. If your non-farm payroll is coming up, and now you don't want to sit through your data on your trading screen and find out what happened in the past, this will give you a summary, a quick summary of what actually happened in the past. Now, you may be asking, what is this delta? So when it comes to news releases, there's an expected figure and an actual figure. So delta is just the difference between the expected and the actual. So that means on the 2nd of August release, the actual was lower than the expected, right? And then what the 4-hourly trend was. And then there's a summary of the summary table. We should rename that summary of summary. And we can see that 5 out of 7 times when the delta was positive, right, the 4-hour trend was negative, right? Similarly, 4 out of 5 times when the delta was negative, the 4-hourly trend was positive. Now this is interesting, which goes to show you that for the employment situation in the US, the delta and the 4-hourly trend are inversely correlated. Okay, so this is quite interesting from a trading perspective. Again, as I say, this is currently not available through any of the brokers. This is only available through a direct subscription at Autochartist, although we are in talks with some of the brokers, to enable this. Now, I'm going to finish off now, and I wanted to point something out to all of you. in that we have some interesting articles which are written by analysts, which many of you may or may not know about. If you go to our website, autochartist.com, and so I'm going to wait for your screens to refresh. Okay, there we go. If you go to autochartist.com, you go to blog, and you click on daily Forex articles, you'll actually get our analyst report for that day. It's published once a day. Now, these reports are absolutely immaculate. Dima is our analyst, and he is right often. not to say that past performance is indicative of future performance. It's not. Okay, but these articles are absolutely awesome. You can subscribe to this by RSS. So do that if you have an RSS reader. But keep an eye on this blog on what Dima has to say. Of course, back to the platform itself. On the far right hand side, you will find a resources and education section. And in the resource and education section, you'll find a lot of useful downloads. I'll just wait for your screens to refresh. You'll find a lot of useful downloads, some introductory videos in multiple languages. Please read our user manuals, our ebooks, and all our educational material and educational videos. And that, in 47 minutes, is Autochartist for Dummies. Errol, how did I do? Did I cover everything you wanted me to cover?
Yes, Ilan, very good.
Okay, great. Now you've been keeping an eye on the questions, right?
Yes.
Are there any questions that you think will be applicable to many of the listeners that I can go over?
Let me see here. Do you see the questions from Mike Chandler?
I actually. Oh, give me a moment. Wow, this is. Sorry, my screen is focused on Autochartist.
Okay, should I read it to you?
Right. Okay. Right at the bottom, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If only trading key level breakout and approaches, what are the best filters to use? From Mike. Thanks, Mike, for that question. With regards to key levels, which are for everyone's knowledge is horizontal support and resistance, there aren't many toggles that you can actually use. When I trade key levels, I primarily look at the past performance. Obviously, the quality indicator for the key levels is really the number of touching points. So it's really it implies the significance of that level. So certainly, I wouldn't be trading things with a quality of 3 or 4. I'd be looking for something higher, 4 or 5 touches. And then I think those are the levels that I would be trading. So certainly, if I had to think of one filter that I would filter on, I would try and not look at anything less than like 4 or 5 touching points, or quality of 4 or 5. Okay, so I think going into the Mike asked again, what are the to go over the quality indicators. I think Errol, I think you should maybe arrange for us a special webinar for that. I mean, it's very long for me to go into that right now. I know Mike, and for the rest of you, that we do give quite a good explanation in our user manual, which is in the resource and education section. If I could ask you to have a look at that, it might answer your questions, because it's like a 15-minute to 20-minute discussion to go into the quality indicators. And I really want to avoid those kind of details in this presentation. I'm sorry. I hope you don't mind. Errol, do you want to deal with Amy's question, or should I?
I think I've spoken to Amy, and she's going to contact us directly at support.
Okay, all right. Okay, so if you take a direct subscription with us, it's $20 a month, and you get pretty much everything that you see on your screen. Um, although I'm not sure if this is necessary or not. In my opinion, that the brokers offer like almost 90% of what Autochartist offers, and the thing is that uh, the brokers they will eventually have everything that you see on your screen. It just takes time because they're from technical aspect. There's integration, questions of integration and support and education, and there's more to deal with. We can be far more rapid in terms of our provision of new services to the market as Autochartists ourselves. That when we deal with the brokers, things go a little bit more slowly. So bear with us while the brokers get all the features. I'm sorry, Errol. I'm struggling to keep up with the questions. Can you pick up one or two for me that you think I should answer for the entire crowd?
Okay. Most of the questions are related to what we offer with each broker. So I think for that, each person should just contact support@autochartist.com, and we can
Okay.
give them specific details.
Yes.
There was just
Okay.
one more question maybe that you want to answer. That is, once a pattern has been identified in trade opportunities and the candles show um, after it's been after the opportunity has been identified, the candles show no color full. So they want to know how long does that show up for?
It shows up for 10 candles. There's a very simple answer to it. It shows up for
Okay.
10 candles. Now, that is in fact also answers Yasser's question, which is when do you consider trend expired and is deemed worthless. There's actually a number of scenarios where we deem it worthless or expired. One of the scenarios is that we hit our take profit, in which case the trade is over. The other scenario is if it moves completely in the wrong direction. We have certain visual instruments that tell us this. And the third option is if a certain amount of time has elapsed. So for example, we normally use 1/3 of the pattern length. So for example, if a pattern is of length 200, we basically say after 66 candles, if that thing hasn't moved up or down, we basically deem it worthless. That's our opinion on this. Yes, Ad also asked um, if we offer butterfly patterns. Yes, of course, we offer butterfly patterns. For a full list of our Fibonacci patterns, you can just click on the edit search button. You can click on the advanced section. Once you have the advanced section up, you can just scroll down, click on Fibonacci patterns. And once that's up, then you can basically just scroll down to the bottom. You can see we offer retracements, extensions, ABCDs, Gartleys, butterflies, and 3 drive patterns. And no, yes, sir, we do not offer alerts for patterns when they become expired. No, we currently don't offer those services. I'm not sure what, Clement, I'm not sure about your question. Maybe, I think we're kind of out of time. We've almost been going for an hour. I apologize that, we didn't have time to answer everyone's questions. Clement, if you could send your question through to support, and whoever else didn't get your questions answered. It's normally the case with these kind of general presentations that we do that we don't go into enough depth to answer all the questions in details. So I think I would urge you to either look at the resources education section or just drop an email to support@autochartist.com or watch the webinars that are specific to your interests. I know the ones that are coming up are specifically deal with different topics within Autochartist. When is the next webinar, Errol? Is it in 2 weeks' time?
I don't have the exact date with me, but it's usually towards the end of the month, so it'll be like the last week of September.
Okay, so will you? Oh, I thought we were doing them every 2 weeks. Is that not the case
No,
anymore?
it's once a month now.
Is it once a month?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, maybe if there's there's a requirement for more, maybe we should do another one. And maybe it's possible to send everybody a link right now. Can you do a blast to everybody right now to send them a link to the historical webinars that we've done? Is that at all possible?
Do you want me to in this webinar? I can.
Yes. Could you do that? Have you got a link to that? I think we upload them on our YouTube channel, or we put them somewhere, right?
Yeah, I think the best thing is just to go to www.youtube.com/autochartist, and you'll see all our videos there.
Is that with a capital A or a small a? Is that with a capital A or a small a?
Small a.
Okay. Oh. Okay. So there you have it, everybody. There's your Autochartist YouTube channel. So yeah, visit that as well. So okay. I hope that wasn't too bad for an overview. Thank you to everybody. We're going to wrap it up. Everybody's got to go back to work or back to sleep. If there are any questions we didn't answer, please feel free. Email support@autochartist.com. We normally have like a 12 to 24-hour turnaround on those tickets, but we will get back to you. Thank you very much, everybody.